What's going on, y'all? We are back. We are here again this week with another NFL mock draft video like usual. This week, we have a full two-round mock draft for every single team in the National Football League. Um, this is something I think I started last year. I like doing where pretty much I just do all the teams for two rounds. Usually I do this because not every team has a first round pick sometimes. Last year I think there was two teams I think it was that didn't have a first round pick. Um, or maybe that was 2 years ago. I know last year that Carolina Panthers did not have a first round pick at least. And I don't think the Rams did either. No, they did because they took Jared Verse. Anyways, um, yeah, but every team does have a first round pick this year, as of right now at least. We are 5 days away from the draft and there has been no trades yet, which has been interesting. So interested to see how that ends up going. But yeah, man, let's get into this. And I am back to Cam Ward at number one. Been flip-flopping with him and Abdul Carter. I've kind of locked in my top five of how I think it's gonna go. Um, really kind of locked in my top six of how it's going to go. But yeah, I just think Cam Ward's going to be the pick at number one overall. I just think everything's kind of shaping up, to be that way. This is a pseudo what would I do slash kind of predictive, but really kind of more what I would do post like the first three picks, I think. But yeah, number two overall, I think it's going to be Travis Hunter as of right now. That's probably what I would do if I was Cleveland in that situation, anyways. I think you could argue Abdul Carter, but yeah, I really think Travis Hunter makes the most sense for the Cleveland Browns there. Three for the Giants. How the board fell to him, I think you have to take Abdul Carter. Um, Pretty simple pick there, right? I mean, best player in the draft class for me, and he's in there number three. Yeah, you got to take him, right? And the Giants could really just use anything, anywhere, in my opinion, for the most part. Four for the Patriots. This is kind of when the draft starts for me right now. I think these three guys are going to be the first three overall picks in some order at the very least. Whether that's Hunter, Carter, whatever, whatever order, or if it's Abdul Carter at one, Travis Hunter at two, Kim Ward at three, whatever. Patriots at four. I still think Ted McMillan could be in play. I don't necessarily think that they're out of the Ted McMillan conversation, but I've just been really keened in on Will Campbell being at number four overall for the Patriots. I explained this in my video last week. If you didn't see it, go check it out where I did a full AFC East 7 round mock draft. And when I got to the Patriots' first pick, their first pick of the draft, like for that 7 round mock draft video, at least, number four overall pick. And I get to him and I'm sitting there and I kind of explained it like, Will Campbell, hey, I think in general the Patriots could use help, especially on the left side of the offensive line, whether that's an offensive tackle or offensive guard or left guard, I mean left tackle, left guard, right? And I think that they could use help at either one of those positions. And I think Will Campbell could play either one of those positions. Maybe you just straight put him at guard. And I don't know if you're gonna straight take a guard at four. Probably looking more at maybe playing him at tackle that first year, and if that doesn't work, then moving him to guard and getting a tackle next year. Whether it's in the draft, through a trade, free agency, whatever, right? But I think it's a really, really good pick for the Patriots just to help protect Drake May. At five for the Jaguars, I think Tech McMillan's in play here as well. I think Ashton Jeanty is sneaky in play here. I think Jahdae Barron could potentially be in play as well, but I'm gonna have to go Mason Graham, the ID out of Michigan. I just think it's too good of a pick for the Jaguars there at five. I think if he gets to six or seven, I think it's definitely the pick for the Raiders and or Jets. But yeah, we're gonna take him at five to the Jaguars there. Six, Raiders. This has just been I've been really flirting with trading out of here. And I just, right now, I'm not sure who would move up to get anybody, to be honest. I think really like, Ted McMillan, maybe. Maybe the Panthers are worried that the Jets take Ted McMillan and jump him real quick. Maybe I don't know, somebody you want to come and get a receiver and get Ted McMillan. I just think, all the way down here is probably where you're looking at receivers anyways. So I don't think any of those teams would jump up that far. When you've got guys like Burden, Genty, Golden. I said Genty because I'm looking at his name. Burden, Ibuka, Golden sitting down there later on. And some guys that are going to be there early in the second round as well. So if I'm the Raiders right now, I think I'm just going to stick and pick at this point. Take McMillan again, an option here, but we're going to go Ashton Genty, the running back out of Boise State. At 7 for the Jets, it, I just been talking about, Ted McMillan makes sense here for the last 5 picks now, I think. He makes sense here as well. However, I've been kind of on the vibe of, where's that? Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State here to the Jets at 7. I think it makes sense. I think it could really work out for them, especially with his run blocking ability, not only his pass catching ability as a tight end, but his run blocking ability as well. Um, my bad, sorry. If you've been a fan of the channel, I haven't struggled with that this year. But sometimes I have this problem when I start talking a lot, I start yawning. But yeah, uh, Tyler Warren at 7 of the Jets, I think makes sense. Like I said, with a running back ability, not only pass catching ability, because he's such a physical specimen, and you just brought in Justin Fields, and maybe you're gonna try to find an offense that suits Justin Fields' strength, which is running the ball. While not only passing the ball as well, you also got Brees Hall in there, who's a great running back. You got Braylon Allen, who looked great as a rookie last year. I think your third string, I think his name's Isaiah Davis, looked good as a rookie last year as well in his play time. So yeah, and I think that adds another weapon to go with Garrett Wilson, right? Jeez. All right, 8 Panthers. I think this has got to be my Tech McMillan spot. I think Jahdae Barron's in play. I think Jalen Walker all the way down here at 24 makes a lot of sense as well. I think the Panthers in this scenario, right? I think the Panthers they really need to attack defense in this draft. But with Tevin Millen sitting on the board, I think it's too good to pass up on. So I think what you do is you take Tevin Millen right there at 8, right? You get a blue chip receiver prospect, and you put him out there with Xavier Legette and Adam Thielen next year, and just let him learn, let him get some PT, some experience, right? And then you attack defense the rest of the draft after that. I'm not sure how many picks the Panthers actually have. Um, they have they've got 57, 74, 111, 114, 140, 146. So they've got 2, 4, 6 picks inside the top 50, 150. So that's good. 3 inside of the top 100, including pick number 8. Saints at 9. It's gonna be a trade back spot for me. The Saints are in a awful position right now. Um, I talked about before, the cap space position that they're in, anyways, is terrible. But the big thing is with them is Derek Carr is potentially done for them. That's been the rumors. He's got a shoulder problem that he's always had, and all this, all that, right? And so that's a big thing. And I think if you're the Saints and you're looking at what our cap space looks like, they've got a decent amount of picks. They've got what 2, 4, 6, 8. They've got 9 picks in the draft. But I think that you look at acquiring more picks if you're the Saints, just in case. That way you can kind of stack your team, reload it a little bit, just in case you're going to have a max exodus over the next year. And I think too, like, hey, if you're the Saints, I think there's potential that you're one of the worst teams in the league this year if everything goes bad again, like it did last year. And you're picking inside the top 10 again in a stat QB class next year. I don't think you have to necessarily trade back and go QB here. I think you could. I think you could trade back and go Shador Sanders. I think you could go Shador Sanders at number 9. But I think you pick up a quarterback maybe later in the draft after acquiring some picks, trade back, get somebody, right? D lineman, maybe wide receiver, run it, whatever, and then go from there. So if I'm the Saints and I'm sitting here, I'm looking who's willing to trade up and whatever. I think I think probably the number one player that people are looking at on the board right now is Armand Mimbu. He's a guy also that I think really could go to the Jets there at 7, or the Patriots even at 4 necessarily, or maybe the Jaguars at 5. And a team that would probably want to come up and get a tackle, in my opinion, is probably the Dolphins right now. They were also the number one team when it pops up on the trade suggestions that would like to trade up here. So we're gonna go 13 and 48 for nine. Let's see if that just gets it done. Maybe like 150 is thrown in there. Maybe like a swap to an extent, like maybe like 150 then for like 184. That's not gonna get it done. What if we went 250? No, because then it's I was talking about trading picks, get picks, and that just does that. I really wish that this would go away. Okay, I get it. Trade is not accepted. What about 155 in there? Yes. Okay, so we have our first trade of the video. The Dolphins will be trading up. They have traded pick 13, pick 48, and pick 155 for pick 9 and pick 184. And we're going to go draft a player, and that player will be Armand Mimbu out of Missouri to the Dolphins. They just lost Teron Armstead. They already needed help in the offensive line anyways, so I think that's a very good pickup for them. And it's a team that's in a compete now mode with the players that they have. Tua. They've got a good running back room. You got Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. Like you've got a decent wide receiver room as well. You've got a good tight end. You've got a really good head coach, really smart head coach, right? So I think you attack some defense here and attack the offensive line in this draft. The yawning is bad today. I'm so sorry, guys, but get those guys and do what you need to do, right? Bears at 10. I think Ashton Jeanty, if on the board here, has got to be the pick. He's not, though. So I do think you can look just kind of like BPA with him. I don't mind Malachi Starks for them, even though I think he is going to fall a little bit. I don't mind edge rusher as well. I think that's going to be where I'm going to go to, though, is going to be edge rusher, for the Bears at 10. Mike Green sitting here, James Pierce sitting here. All these guys are still sitting here. But I'm a big fan of Jalen Walker. And I know this sounds weird because I said I'm going to go edge rusher. I think Jalen Walker has the ability to play a like a Mike linebacker, but also be an edge rusher as well, an outside linebacker role. And I think that the Bears would be fine with that, bringing him in and playing him in either position, really, because I think it could use help in the linebacker room as well. 11 for the 49ers. Pretty simple pick here. I would say if Armand Mimbu was still on the board, I think that would be the pick. I think Josh Simmons and Kelvin Banks are probably still in play as well. But Jahdae Barron sitting here on the board still. It's got to be the pick for the 49ers at pick 11. They need help in that cornerback room. And that's the guy that you can go and get to help you out there. At 12 with the Dallas Cowboys. This is an interesting pick because I don't mind wide receiver to them, but I think edge rusher makes more sense. And this has kind of been when I've been running these recently. This has just been my Mike Green spot. I think it makes a lot of sense for them. I think this is a guy that the Cowboys would like from a prospect perspective. So we're going to take him there at 12 to the Cowboys. Now we're here at 13 again with the Saints on the clock. I do think IDL could be in play. I think this is a little early for all these guys, though. I think it's a little early for Walton. I think it's a little early for Kenneth Grant or whoever. So I think that they would kind of opt to go edge over defensive line here due to the talent. But I want to say I want to take Shamar Stewart here. The reason being because he is an edge that can also play probably in the interior on the defensive line, and that's why I think that they would opt to go him over these other kind of more true edge rushers like James Pierce or Donovan Ezra, right? 14 for the Colts. Tight end, safety, I think are both in play. With Tyler Warren being gone off the board, Malachi Starks still sitting here. I think it makes a lot of sense for them. I do think Edge could be in play due to the talent still sitting on the board at that position. But we're gonna take Malachi Starks here at 14 to the Colts. I could see him end up falling into the 20s. Like I think he would be a home run pick for the Ravens if he fell all the way down there. But yeah, I'm gonna have him going at 14 though right now to the Colts. 15 for the Falcons. Man, I can't get off of the fact that they need an edge rusher bad, man. They've always needed one, and I can't think of their GM's name. Um, oh my gosh, what's their GM's name? I gotta look it up. Fontenot, maybe? Is that his name? Terry Fontenot? Terry Fontenot? Fontenot? I think I don't even know how I say it. Is that his name? Falcons GM. Yeah, Terry Fontenot. Fontenot. That's how I say it. Fontenot. There you go. He just refuses to just get them an edge rusher, man. And I really, really like James Pierce and Michael Williams here. My buddy who's a Falcons fan is also a Georgia fan, and he's been preferring Michael Williams over James Pierce Jr. So you know what? We'll be nice to him. Two Georgia players in a row. We'll take Michael Williams to the Falcons at 15, even though I would probably go James Pierce Jr. over him. I could also see this being a Jahad Campbell spot now as well if they opt to not go edge rusher. 16 for the Cardinals. Man, I've just been seeing some mocks where Ted McMillan falls all the way down here, and that would be insane. But this is gonna be my Walter Nolan spot here for the Cardinals. I think if they really want to get aggressive and get Ted McMillan, they could trade up and go get him. But yeah, man. I think Walter Nolan's a good pick for them. I think I've mocked it before. They need help on the interior defense line, so let's do it, right? I think Will Johnson's also in play there as well. But yeah, 17 to the Bengals. I think we're gonna go with Jahad Campbell. I know that sounds weird. I've been kind of interior defensive line edge rusher for them, maybe offensive line, but Jahad Campbell, man, I've started to like him more and more, and I think he's a really good player. I think he could make sense for the Bengals here at 17. At 18 for the Seahawks, I did they just don't value interior of the offensive line. I was gonna say defensive line. I think Tyler Booker's a little less out of play than I thought originally. But I do think that Kelvin Banks Jr. Gray's able to make a lot of sense here for the Seahawks, but they refuse to just do that. So I'm gonna actually opt to go edge rusher here, and that's gonna be Donovan Ezeraku out of Boston College. I'm not that high on Ezeraku as most, but I think this is a type of player that I think the Seahawks would like. This is a type of player that they've kind of drafted over the past few years, and it hasn't worked out. But twitchy, just amped up edge rusher out of Boston College, Donovan Ezeraku at 18 to the Seahawks. 19 for the Buccaneers, with Jahad Campbell off the board. I think they opt to go Will Johnson. I think James Pierce Jr. could be in play, but I really like Jahad Campbell at 19 to the Buccaneers. But with him being off the board at 17 to the Bengals, we're gonna go Will Johnson at 19 to the Buccaneers. Stop that kind of like fall that we've had for him going as well. Him and Malachi Starks are really big, interesting factors for me in this year's draft. I think them two, Jalen Walker and Michael Williams. Interesting to see where they end up going. 20 to the Broncos. Luther Burden is still sitting here. Colson Loveland is still sitting here. I think that they would opt to maybe go Colson Loveland over Luther Burden, and that's two Michigan players in a row. Due to the fact that, yes, you signed Evan Ingram, I think to a 1 year contract, though, maybe 2 years. And I think that Colson Loveland is a guy that can play off the line in like a slot role almost as a tight end. And yeah, they could use both those things, right? So I think it makes sense for them to take him there at 20. 21 Steelers. I think I'm back to us taking a interior defensive lineman. I think tackle being listed is interesting. I don't think there's a safety here that we would take this early. I would almost rather us go corner over safety if we're going to take secondary. But I'm going to opt to not take one of those guys yet. I think we could also be a trade back spot due to the fact that we don't have a second round pick right now, maybe acquiring one. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm going to do that actually. Who's a team that would want to come up and get a wide receiver? The Texans, maybe? What are the Texans working with here? What do you have second round pick wise, Texans? 58, so we'd be almost getting back our original pick. Um, is that a good trade? No, they don't like that. Okay, what about like 123? No. Okay, the Texans are not interested in trading for this pick. Who is? The Lions? They have pick 60. Hmm. Okay, it looks like I'm not gonna be able to get a trade done. Okay, I just been on the interior defensive line wave a little bit for us. I know Shador Sanders still being here is interesting. I don't want to do that though. I just don't. I don't. That would be the Steeler thing to do, but I don't see us doing it. I'm gonna have to go with Kenneth Grant here. I think I would rather him over Derek Carmen. I'm not as big on Derek Carmen as most. That's gonna be three Michigan players in a row. I just thought about that. Wow. All right, 22 to the Chargers. I think if Kenneth Grant doesn't go there at 21 to the Steelers, they take him here, or same with Colson Loveland. But yeah, man, receivers being on the board, Luther Burden still here. I think that's got to be the pick for the Chargers. I think if you go away with Luther Burden at 22, I think it's like, wow, what a steal for us, right? But yeah, 23 for the Packers. I think Luther Burden would have been a good pick there for them. But yeah, man, I think wide receiver can still be a move. I think edge rusher can still be a move for them as well. With James Pierce Jr. sitting here though, I think that's a little bit too much of a fall for me with how highly I think of him as talent wise. I'm going to take James Pierce Jr. at 23 of the Packers. 24 Vikings. Man, Omarion Hampton's definitely in play here. I think Derek Harmon's in play for them as well. But I think DB is also in play for them. So I'm gonna. Oof. Who's interested in trading up here? Anybody interested in trading up for Josh Simmons? The Ravens are. And oh, I didn't even think about that. The Vikings only have four picks in this draft. 27, 91, and 183 for 24. Wow, really? That doesn't get accepted? Are we serious? 27 and 91 for 24. All right, Ravens come up, they get Josh Simmons. I know that they're listed as guard. I still think they could kind of use a tackle. Maybe that's the wrong pick there. Maybe that should have been Kelvin Banks or Gray Zabel. I might have been messed up on that, but I don't mind Josh Simmons to the Ravens though. 25 Texans. I think this could be the Josh Simmons spot, but with him being gone, I think you just take Kelvin Banks. You play him at tackle or guard, either one, right? Rams at 26. This is like the tackle run right here. Well, you know what though? I don't know if they'd go Josh Connolly. I could see them going one of those two wide receivers. Decisions. Yeah, I'm gonna go Josh Connolly. I think this we're on a tackle run here, and yeah, yeah, we're taking three tackles in a row. I think they got to go Josh Connolly. I think they just need so much help at tackle. I don't think there's really a tight end, in my opinion, that I would take here. I know people like Elijah Arroyo and Mason Taylor, and some of these other guys, but I think that you could target tight end later in the draft, either Rams. Not really an inside backer I would take here either, which I know is a need for them. And not really a corner. I mean, corner, I think you could argue there, maybe Trey Amos. And speaking of Trey Amos, I'm actually not going to pick him here, but I think he is going to be a first rounder come Thursday night. But we're going to go Marion Hampton here at 27 to the Vikings, who I think, could use help at running back. 28 to the Lions. Wide receiver being listed is interesting, especially with Emeka Buka and Matthew Golden sitting here. You know what? That's not a bad shout from PFF on the needs list for them. I think edge rusher could also be in play. I think that they would really like Braden's. I feel like Braden Swinson is like somebody that I feel like the Lions just like really like. I just don't know if I can throw him in my first round. Um, Man, I don't mind guard either. I don't mind them taking Tyler Booker here, who I think is probably going to end up falling to the second round, but I don't mind it. Gray Zabel is still here, isn't he? Oh, wow. Yeah, Gray Zabel definitely the pick there at 28 for the Lions. Wow, I forgot he was still there. Nice. Uh, Commanders, I would have definitely taken Gray Zabel if I was them there. Now he is gone. I think you take Donovan Jackson. This is a guy that I've flirted getting in the first round a little bit. But he's a guy that I think he's listed as a tackle that could end up playing guard. I don't necessarily think tackles out of the cards for him, but I do think he's better as a guard, and I think Washington could use a guard, and we're going to get him into the first round there. 30 to the Bills. I think you're at corner right now due to the talent on the board. Nick Scouton maybe could be in play here, but with Trey Amos still sitting here, I just said he's going to be a first rounder, I think, on Thursday, so I'm going to get him in my first round there at 30 to the Bills. 31 for the Chiefs. I think you look at offensive line. I think Tyler Booker still being here is very interesting for them because I think you could definitely target him. I think IDL could still be in play as well. And even though I don't like him that much as most people, I'm going to take Derek Harmon at 31 to the Chiefs just because I think that he's probably going to end up being a first round pick for sure. Eagles at 32. I think Emeka Buka, Matthew Golden have to be talked about here if you're the Eagles. Um, I think edge and I think corner, if anything, is probably in play with receiver. Um, but man, those are two really good players. And the Eagles have the past few years have just been like, hey, we're gonna take the best player sitting on the board. I think Benjamin Morrison is so interesting for them as well, though, because I think I explained this. I think I actually like made that pick in my first mock draft this year. Maybe it was my second one. where I was just like, hey, Benjamin Morrison is really good, but his injury thing is really concerning. And it's like, hey, what team can take that chance and be like, oh, well, he didn't work out. We're fine. I feel like it would be the Eagles. And I really want to take Benjamin Morrison here. But like I said, they just always been like, hey, we're just going to take the best player available because we don't care. I feel like it's one of these two receivers. Yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna take Matthew Golden at 32 to the Eagles. That's interesting. I haven't even really thought about Eagles taking a receiver, I don't think. But man, let's do it, right? I think Devontae's not sure on this. Let me check that out. Devontae Smith, this is his last year of his contract unless they gave him an extension that I don't remember. Okay, they did give him an extension already. Okay. They gave him a rookie extension, so he's on contract till 2028. That's good. Um, about AJ Brown. But still, though, even if you're like, if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, we've got AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. That's awesome. But we're running like Jahan Dotson as like wide receiver three. Like, nah, I'm good, right? Let's go get Matthew Golden. All right, second round. We're gonna speed this up because I gotta leave here soon. We got stuff to do. We gotta get out of the house soon here. But we're gonna speed this up. Second round. Some of these I'm not really gonna talk about a whole lot. Cleveland Browns at pick 33. We went Travis Hunter first round, and I think the cards align perfectly here for the Cleveland Browns. Shador Sanders still sitting here. Pair him up with his teammate Travis Hunter. And who knows? Maybe Deion Sanders is your new head coach within 2 or 3 years. Giants at 34, we took Abdul Carter. I think you could really go any way here. I think Jaxson Dart being on the board here still is interesting. I think it's a possibility, man. I think Emeka Ibuka being here, though, I feel like if you're the Giants, I feel like you need to take him. You got two gunslingers and Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson on your roster right now as your quarterback. Yes, you just took Malik Nabers last year in the first round. He was spectacular, right? But I kind of look at the rest of the receiver room and I know guys, I know people like Wandale Robinson and Jalen Hyatt still young and is showing a little bit of flash here and there. But man, dude, I think that could make a lot of sense. I think corner can make a lot of sense here for them as well. Benjamin Morrison still sitting here, I think is a possibility. I think I'm kind of out on offensive tackle as of right now for them. Benjamin Morrison, man, I think Maxwell Harris and Savon Rebel are also really good players. I think Darian Porter, Isaiah Thomas are also really good players as well. But I think if you're the Giants, you're a little cautious on Benjamin Morrison. So I think I am going to actually go corner. Even though I like Emeka Buka to them at 34 here. But I think I'm going to go corner. I think I'm going to go Savon Revel. I think they like Maxwell Harrison a little more, though. But I like Savon Revel better as a player. So I'm going to take Savon Revel at 34 to the Giants, cornerback out of East Carolina. 35 makes it easy for the Titans here. You took Campbell in the first round. You still need receiver help anyways. And Emeka Ibuka sitting there at the top of the second round. Go and get him to help out your receiving room and help out your brand new quarterback. They just took him in a one overall pick. 36, the Jaguars. You went Mason Graham. I do think offense could be in play at tight end and at wide receiver. But I think interior defensive line could be as of use as well, even though you already took Mason Graham. I know that sounds crazy, but they just really need help there. And there's some good players. I just don't think I can double down. But I do think safety could really be of use for them as well, as it is listed. And there's some good safeties here. And I'm going to take Nick Emanwari out of South Carolina there at 36. At 37, to the Raiders, we went Ashton Genty first round. And with all the talent of the interior defensive line sitting here, I think you got to take one of them, and that's going to be my guy, Tyleek Williams, out of Ohio State. 38 Patriots, you took Will Campbell in the first round. Maybe you take somebody else to help with Drake May still. Maybe that's a running back. Maybe it's a receiver, right? I don't really, I mean, I like these running backs. I don't know if I like them at 38, maybe like Caleb Johnson, Trayvon Henderson, Quinshon Judkins. But there is some talent at wide receiver here, and I think that it could be of use to them. I think what would be really interesting if you're the Patriots, you're just like, hey, we just took Will Campbell. We're going to go get Tyler Booker now. I keep on clicking on offensive tackle, but he's a guard. But man, I like the talent at wide receiver still sitting here, and I like Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State a lot. So we're gonna take him at 38 to the Patriots. 39, the Bears. This is from the number one Bryce Young trade. Still benefiting from that if you're the Bears, right? He took Jalen Walker in the first round. Kind of need help at safety. There's some talented safeties here, in my opinion. And I think I'm going to take Kevin Winston Jr., safety out of Penn State there at 39 of the Bears. 40 Saints. You took Shamar Stewart in the first round. I think you target maybe receiver here. Elliot Ayleman sitting here. Jack Besh is sitting here as well. Kyle Williams, Trey Harris, who I like a lot. And I think Trey Harris could really make a lot of sense if you're the Saints, man. All your receivers are relatively small. Get a guy that can go up and get the football, right? Trey Harris is a guy for that. Bears at 41. I think somebody could trade up here potentially, maybe go get Nick Skouerton, who I think is probably BPA, him and Benjamin Morrison, some of these corners that are really good. But man, hey, if I'm the Bears, I'm going to go ahead and take my running back now that I want to get. And I think Caleb Johnson could be of use in Chicago. He's not my RB2. Or sorry, he's not my RB3 because Genty and Hampton are 1 and 2. He's not my RB3, but man, I think he can make a really, really good combo with DeAndre Swift up there in Chicago. And if you look at it, right, you just got Ben Johnson as your head coach, who had Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, kind of a power back and a receiving, shifty, elusive back that they really split time with. That's that, right? With DeAndre Swift, kind of shifty, quick receiving guy. When you got Caleb, and DeAndre Swift is a good runner as well, but I'd say he's more on that side than a power back. Then you go get a power back like Caleb Johnson out of Iowa, there at 41. 42 to the Jets. First round, we went Tyler Warren. I think you maybe look at offensive line help, and they don't really need a guard. And I think it's a little too early for Ariante Ursare probably. So I think you kind of have to shift your gears there, and maybe you look offense again. Maybe you look IDL. There is some IDL talent here. I know people like Omar Norman Lott. I know people like Darius Alexander as well. Not a big fan of both of them. I would probably take Alfred Collins or TJ Sanders here, and that's what we're gonna do with TJ Sanders at 42 to the Jets. At 43, the 49ers went Jade Barron first round. I think now you have to attack offensive line. Tyler Booker still sitting here. I think is going to be the pick for them at 43. Sorry, I lose my voice here, guys. Dang. All right, 44 to the Cowboys. First round, we went Mike Green. I think second round you target wide receiver, running back potentially. And I think I'm going to take another running back. And this is my RB3. It's Quinshon Judkins out of Ohio State. Really, really good, talented running back. He can kind of do both. He can run the football and he can catch the football as well. So I think it's to be a good pick for the Cowboys there at 44. At 45, I'm the Titan. I mean, not the Titans. I'm the Colts. Took Malachi Starks in the first round. I think you look tight end now. I think, oh, you know what though? No, he's too good, man, to still be sitting here. I'm gonna take Nick Skouerton, the edge rusher out of Texas A&M. Falcons at 46. We did get our edge rusher, Micah Williams, in the first round. We almost didn't go edge rusher, but we got one. I think you could look linebacker now. I'm not too high on the rest of these linebackers, to go this early, really. So I think you could probably pass on that. You could potentially look receiver, like Aomanor, a bigger bodied receiver out of Stanford, 6'2", 210. Got to go up and get the ball, similar to Drake London, right? I think that he could be a possibility, opposite of Drake London. I do like Jalen Noel a lot as well. But we're gonna take Elliott Ayomator, the wide receiver out of Stanford, there at 46 of the Falcons. At 47, Cardinals. Man, I wish Tyler Booker was still here because I'd go get him. I wish Donovan Jackson was still here because I'd go get him. But neither of them are there. So what's the move now if you're the Cardinals? You went Walter Nolan first round. I think you probably look corner at this point. There's still a lot of talented corners on the board. And again, man, Benjamin Morrison is just it concerns me. So we're gonna take Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky. At 48, the Saints. This is a pick that we got in that trade earlier. We took Shamar Stewart already. We took Trey Harris already. And this is where I think that you could probably target a running back that's going to end up being the replacement for Alvin Kamara when he's done, probably within the next 2 years, 3 years. And that's going to be Travion Henderson, the running back out of Ohio State. 49 Bengals. we did go Jahad Campbell in the first round. I think now you probably look offensive line. Again, though, man, there's just really not a guard that I think could go this early. I think maybe Tate Ratledge, maybe one of those tackles that could end up playing guard like Wyatt Milan, Jonas Savaitinaya. So I think your gears shift again, and I think you look ideal with talent still being there. And I think that's just gonna have to be Darius Alexander out of Toledo. I think it makes a lot of sense for them at 49. Seahawks at 50, we took Donovan Ezraku. We've got two picks, though, coming up here. We got 50 and 52. And I think this is just got to be an offensive lineman. I think if you're the Seahawks, even if it's a reach, I think it has to be an offensive lineman. And I think for how much, he's dropped a little bit in my rankings, I think it's going to end up being Jonas Savaitinaya, a guy that's probably going to end up playing guard anyways, at 50 to the Seahawks. 51, Broncos. I think with the talent of receivers still sitting here, I think it's a possibility. I do think IDL could be in play. I think this is a team that would like Alfred Collins, so we're going to take him out of Texas at 51. 52, Seahawks. This is originally the Steelers pick. This is from the DK Metcalf trade. I think you kind of just look BPA, and I do think they could potentially use some help in their edge rusher room along with Donovan Ezraku. I think Braden Swinson could be in play. I think that IDL could be in play with Omar Norman Lott. But man, I'm looking at Benjamin Morrison sitting here, and I think if you're the Seahawks, right? And I talked about this in my Seahawks 7-round mock draft video. Go watch it. I talked about this. Like all of your cornerback room, I think is like on expiring contracts this year. So I think that you could take Benjamin Morrison and be like, hey, this guy ends up working out. We don't have to re-sign one of these guys, you know? So I think that makes a lot of sense for them at 52. Benjamin Morrison, cornerback out of Notre Dame. 53, Buccaneers. We did go Will Johnson first round, so I think you definitely have to target like edge linebacker here. And there's really not an edge. I mean, there's really not a linebacker that I would like here. I do think safety could be in play as well with some of the talent at safety. But man, I think that we got to take. I think we got to take Braden Swinson here at LSU here at 53. At 54, Packers, we did take James Pierce Jr. in the first round. I think you now target corner. There's still some talent there on the board. Darren Porter, Azariah Thomas. I'm probably opt to go Thomas out of Florida State there for the Packers. I do think receiver could be in play as well if you're the Packers. 55, the Chargers. We did take Luther Bird in the third. So I think you do target IDL now. There's still some talent still sitting there. I do think this is where you could see a second tight end go off the board. But yeah, we're gonna target IDL, and this is gonna be the Omar Norman Lott spot out of Tennessee. 56, the Bills. We only got a few more picks here, so bear with us. 56, the Bills. We did take Trey Amos in the first round. We got two picks coming up with them. I think you target edge rusher now. Still some talent there for sure. And I think this is going to be my guy, Josiah Stewart out of Michigan, there, who's a little further down the board, but I like him a lot. 57, the Panthers. This is going to be probably, like I said earlier, take Tech Mill and you really attack defense. This is probably going to be a defensive player in some way. And I think you just kind of look at it and you're like, hey, let's just go get the best player available. I think edge rusher could definitely be in play due to the value of the position. Landon Jackson sitting out of Arkansas. I really do like Xavier Watts, though, so I think he can make a lot of sense for them. So we're going to take Xavier Watts at 57 for the Panthers and help that secondary that they need. 58, Texans, we just kind of took an offensive lineman there, whether he's going to play guard, tackle, who knows. It's Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. I think you look wide receiver now with the talent still being on the board. Kind of help out CJ Stroud even more. And probably just Jack Besh as the pick there from went to TCU. So, somewhat local at least, in the same state at least. 59, Ravens, we traded up and we took Josh Simmons in the first round. Now I think you look edge rusher, Landon Jackson still sitting here, probably best one on the board. So we're going to take Landon Jackson, edge rusher out of Arkansas there at 59. 60, the Lions. Interesting team here. Gray's able in the first round to play guard, fill that guard position. Wide receiver, man, that's so interesting. But edge rusher, still a lot of talent here in my opinion. And I think a guy that the Lions would like is probably JT Tuimoloau out of Ohio State. So we're going to take him there at 60 to the Lions. 61, the Commanders. We did go Donovan Jackson in the first round to help play at guard position. And I think you're going to look running back now. I think it's a real option for them. I do think corner could be in play with Darian Porter. Actually, you know what? Yeah, that's going to be my pick. Darian Porter at 61 to the Commanders. I actually like that a lot. 62, the Bills. We did just go Josiah Stewart for them. Trey Amos still sitting there as well in the first round. I think IDL could be in play. I think linebacker could be in play. Um, I do know that people like Carson Schleichinger a lot, and I just don't know if I could do that though. I don't think doubling on edge necessarily is the right move here either. So maybe it is just you know what? We're gonna take a linebacker. We're gonna take Carson Schleichinger out of UCLA there at 62, the Bills. 63, the Chiefs. We did go Derek Carmen in the first round, so I think probably got a target off his line. I think this is probably the Ariante Urshare spot for sure. If I'm the Chiefs. Maybe a little late for him, to be honest. And then 64, last but not least, the Eagles. We went Matthew Golden in the first round. A little interesting pick there. I think edge rusher could be in play. I think cornerback could be in play. Really no corners that I'd probably take here, though. So I think the better talent is in this edge class that's left on the board for us here. I do like Kyle Kennard. I do like Jack Sawyer, but I am going to take Princey. Yeah. Princely U out of Ole Miss. Interesting that I kind of wanted to get Jaxson Dart in the second round there because I think that's where he's going to end up falling at, but I really don't know where. I think maybe he's an option for the Giants at 34. I did bring that up. I think he's an option for maybe the Raiders at 37. Oh, maybe the Saints at 40. Maybe that's where he goes. Who knows? Or at 48. I should have taken him there at 48. That'd have been interesting. But yeah, let's recap it. I'm just gonna scroll through this very slowly. But yeah, I'm not gonna read out all these picks. Here's the first round. Top nine. We'd have a trade here where we traded up from 13 to 9 with the Dolphins and picked up an extra second round pick and a pick swap later in the draft for the Saints, in which they came up and got Armand Mimbu, Shamar Stewart there at 13 to the Saints. My Pittsburgh Steelers take Kenneth Grant at 21. There's 14 through 21. Here's 22 through 29. One of my favorite interesting picks of the draft there, Luther Burden at 22 to the Chargers. 30 through 37. Shedeur Sanders going at the top of the second round to the Browns. 38 through 46. 47 through 54. 55 through 63. And there's pick 64. All right, fellas. Or ladies, whoever's watching, right? Appreciate y'all watching. And I'm sorry that I didn't get the 2 videos out this week. Very busy week. But yeah. Look out for a Steelers mock draft maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday, potentially. Steelers 7 round. Look out for that. That is my first and only 1 and 2 round mock draft of the year, first and second rounds for all 32 NFL teams. But yeah, man, it's draft week. I'm excited. And if I don't drop a video from here on out, man, come back and check me out on Thursday. Final predictive first round mock. What I think is going to happen, not necessarily what I would do. Come back, check me out for that. And then on Friday, we've got reactions to night 1 video plus a second separate video. We're going to have 2 videos dropping on Friday of a predictive second and third rounds based off what happens in the first round. So yeah, man, appreciate y'all watching. Appreciate y'all stopping by. Hope y'all enjoyed that one. And we'll see you next time. Peace.